Hello, Year 6, and welcome to your first science lesson of the half term. Today we're going to be looking at how we can sort organisms. Like always, we're going to start off our first lesson and all of our lessons with a knowing more, remembering more. So make sure you've got a pen, pencil, and paper ready for start. Okay, so question 1, top left. True or false? All leaves turn brown in the autumn. True or false? Top right. Which of the following is part of a plant life cycle? Which of the following is part of a plant life cycle? A, seed dispersal, B, pollination, C, fertilization, or D, all of the above? Bottom left. Name a diagram we use for sorting. Hint, think back to year 4 maths. So we'll name a diagram we use for sorting. And finally, bottom right, name the 7 life processes of all living organisms. Clue, Mrs. Gren. Ten more seconds. Okay, let's go through the answers. So the first one, all leaves turn brown in autumn, is false. They don't. B, the second one, which part of the plant, which of the following is part of the plant life cycle? It is all of the above. Seed dispersal, pollination, and fertilization are all parts of the plant life cycle. The recall, bottom left, name a diagram we could use for sorting. You could have said a Venn diagram or a Carroll diagram. And last but not least, name the 7 life processes of all the living organisms. Mrs. Gren, we've got movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. They're all of them. So well done to all of you and getting the answers correct. You will also have this as a purple match quiz for you to complete as well after the lesson. Okay, so our new topics. So some of the questions we've already answered are: what is the name of an organism? How can we group animals, and what methods of grouping can be used? But the questions that we're going to be answering today are: how can we sort organisms? Why do we need to classify organisms? How can we classify animals? And who came up with a classification system? Okay, so let's go on to our first part of our success criteria, identifying similarities and differences between organisms. Let's have a look. So what do we mean by classifying? To classify something is to arrange into categories according to shared quantities or characteristics. So classifying is putting your objects or whatever your focus is into certain groups. So let's have a look at these. Think to yourselves, how have these shapes been grouped? I'm going to give you 10 seconds before I give you the answer. Okay, so each of the groups have been first rectangle, they have been, which says the 3 have been grouped into triangles or shapes with 3 sides. We've got the one with 4, they've all been sorted into quadrilaterals, and the 5 is shapes have been sorted as regular or irregular pentagons. Okay, so to classify, we use observable features. Observable features means being able to be noticed or perceived. So things we can see when what we can notice and what we see things when we look at objects carefully. We can only observe what we can see. We can't predict and we can't guess. It is purely what you see. We need to ask ourselves questions in order to classify groups of organisms. Okay, what's similar and what's different? Okay, so when you're thinking about looking at creating groups to organize your focus groups and your organisms, look carefully at the features. So things you might want to think about are the veins, the shape, the color, and the edge of the leaf. So you can look at what's similar and what's different. The color is very different, a total different shade. You've got the number of veins. There's more veins in one than the other. The points on the left-hand leaf are a lot sharper. The edges, the leaves, so lots of different elements you could look for. Okay, so what is similar? What is different about your leaves? So we've got 4 leaves here. Pause the video, have a chat, and think about what's similar and what's different about these leaves. Pause the video now, and when you've finished discussing, continue with the video. Pause now, please. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully we can continue. So let's continue with it. So we've got a video clip to watch. Now the video clip will be posted alongside the this video. So if you pause the video again now, watch the video clip, and then we can continue with your lesson. The video clip will be on the website next to this video as well. Would you like to pause this video now and then go and watch the video clip? Thank you. Welcome back. Hopefully you've made some good notes to help you with the rest of your learning for this lesson. And let's continue with the lesson. Okay, so things you could do at home. So you could go out, collect 2 different types of leaves on a walk or from your garden, and you can compare them. But always remember to wash your hands when you're handling leaves, okay? So let's go to our second part of our lesson. How we can group organisms using Venn and Carroll diagrams, okay? So as a quick recap back to year 4, how we could group the leaves, okay? So think of 2 categories that we could use to group our leaves. Can anyone think back of a method of grouping we can use? Have a hard think. We did mention earlier on. Well done. If you thought you could group your categories into 2 categories, if you're using 2 criteria only, you'd be using a Venn diagram. They have 2 categories. You've got the left-hand side, the right-hand side category, and then you've got the section in the middle, the quadrant in the middle, which highlights what both the features that are similar in both. Okay. Now, I want you to pause the screen in a second. Have a think. What categories could you use to sort and organize and categorize these leaves? Okay. What categories could you use? Have a think, and then we'll go through the answers. If you'd like to pause the video now, please. Okay, hopefully you've managed to come back and you've organized them how you think they'd like to go and what the subheadings could be. Let's see how we could have organized them and where we could place them on here. So I've chosen, the 2 areas I've chosen are the one color, purely the leaf having just one color, green, and the other section is having a scalloped edge. A scalloped edge is quite a wavy, curvy edge. Okay, all of these here on the left-hand side that are just green, one color. So you've got 1, 2, 3, they're all one shade of green. And the one here of this side is not green, it's brown. And here it's got a scalloped edge, where this one here is green and having a scalloped edge. But what about this shape here? Why is this one outside? Well, the reason why that one's outside is because it's not got a scalloped edge, and nor is it just one color. It has a white outline and is green. Like we just said here, why is this one here? It's not just one color and it does not have a scalloped edge. So why do we need to sort and classify living organisms? So biologists and naturalists need to be able to understand how living things are related to and depend upon each other. This enables scientists to make discoveries in areas such as medicine. By looking in detail at organisms' features, specifically their similarities and differences, it is possible to group and classify them, helping to understand their relationship. Let's think about it. Is a Venn diagram the best method for grouping our leaves? Think about it, and in class or to yourself, write down why you think it is, or if not, have a discussion with your friends. Pause the video now, and when you're ready, unpause it and we'll carry on. Pause the video, please. Fantastic. So hopefully you've had the opportunity to think, is a Venn diagram the best method for grouping our leaves? So let's have a look. Not necessarily, it could be, but it depends upon how many categories we're looking at. But we also have a carroll diagram. Now, this time we're using a frog to categorize this. Now, I've got 4 different categories. I've got lives in water. Across the top, so I've got lives in water and then lives on land. And I have has legs and have not got legs. So where would you place this frog? 10 seconds. Where do you think this places frog? Work out your answer, and then I'm going to give you it. Final 5. Okay, a frog would go into this category. It would go here because a frog lives in water and it has legs. Okay? Well done to all of you that got that right. So here's your task, and you'll find this in your pack. Okay? You've got a carroll diagram and you have got your animals, selected animals. You need to place them into the correct category. Okay, so pause the video now and complete the task. Take you about 10 minutes and then come back together and you can discuss your answers as a class. Just pause the video now, please. Fantastic. Hopefully now you've done your activity and you've come back together and maybe had your discussion as well, and hopefully you've got a lot of the same answers. Okay, right. Let's move on to the next phase. I can create classification keys. Okay, now do you think there's a better way of sorting where we can be more specific? Because if you look at the pictures here, all of these animals that we have on the right hand side have very similar characteristics, apart from maybe the way the color of their fur. Actually, their body structure is very similar, and there's got to be an easy way to classify them. So let's have a look. Now, a classification key is a set of questions about the characteristics of living things. You can use a key to identify a living thing or decide which group it belongs to by answering questions. For example, does the animal have stripes? So what is classification? Classification is a way of grouping different living things together by their features. There are more than 8 million species of living things on Earth. To help us identify and study them, they are classified into different groups. Classification involves placing living things into progressively smaller and smaller groups, like branches of a tree. So let's look at this example below. This is a tree diagram. A tree diagram uses closed questions with yes or no answers to sort objects and organisms. So we need to work our way down the branch until we get to the last question. And at the end of each final branch, you should have one object or organism, and that will tell you what the answer is. So let's go through it step by step. So we can take the circle. Let's go. We've got circle, square, equilateral triangle, and pentagon. So are there more than 3 edges in a circle? The answer would be no. Are there 3 vertices? No. So you would expect the circle to go in the bottom right-hand corner. Right. Going to give yourself 2 minutes. Pause the video, work out where the rest of them go, and we will, when you're finished, unfreeze the video, unpause the video, and we will continue. Off you go. Pause the video, please. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you've sorted them out and you've got your answers in place. Let's check if they are correct. So in the bottom left, we have the square. In the next one, we have the pentagon. In the third one across, we have the triangle, equilateral triangle. And the last one, like we did say, we have the circle. Let's read through the tree diagram, see if we are right. So a square. Are there more than 3 edges? Yes, there are 4. Are any of the edges parallel? Yes, we have 2 sets of parallel lines. So yes, it goes there. The square is correct. Look at the pentagon. Are there more than 3 edges? Yes. Are any of the edges parallel? No, because they all will meet at some point. So that's correct. And then the equilateral triangle. Are there more than 3 edges? Yes. Are there 3 vertices? Yes. 1, 2, 3. So it was correct. So that fills up very nicely, and the circle is there as we started at the beginning. But what do we mean by closed questions? Closed-ended questions are questions that you ask. Closed questions are questions that ask you to choose from a set of predefined responses. So you ask a question, yes or no. So is today Tuesday, for example? It would either be yes or no. So task, sort the animals using this tree diagram, okay? So you're going to pause the video in a moment. I'm just going to explain it. I've given you all of the questions here, and you need to sort the animals. You've got a zebra, a chimpanzee, a pelican, a Dalmatian, a wolf, a flamingo, a tadpole, and a giraffe. You need to draw out the tree diagram and sort the animals into the correct spaces. When you've done, can you pause the video, and then when you've done, continue with the lesson. Pause the video now, please. Fantastic. Now, hopefully you've completed the activity and you've come back. Let's continue. So the answers for it. So let's have a look. So your answer, first answer should be wolf. Then you've got Dalmatian, giraffe, zebra, flamingo, pelican, tadpole, and chimpanzee. So let's just read through them all. Does it have 4 legs? Yes. Does it bark and howl? Yes. Does it normally live in the wild? Yes. So a wolf lives in the wild and barks, whereas a Dalmatian barks and howls, has 4 legs, but doesn't live in the wild. Again, having 4 legs, does it howl and bark? No. Does it have a long neck? Yes. So a giraffe has a long neck but doesn't howl. A zebra doesn't have a long neck and doesn't howl either. Let's have a look at the other one. Does it have 4 legs? No. So this animal doesn't have 4 legs. Is it a bird? Yes. So we've got a pink bird, which is a flamingo, and an unknown pink bird is a pelican. We've also got, is it a bird? No, it's not a bird, but it does have a tail. Yes, the tadpole. And if it's not a bird and it doesn't have a tail, it's a chimpanzee. Okay. So think carefully now. Let's move on. How could we create a tree diagram to classify these birds? So we've got a blackbird, a chaffinch, a grey heron, a puffin, a magpie, and a yellow hammer. How many of these birds have you actually seen before, as a question? Because some of these you may not have seen. Have a think to yourselves. The ones you've probably seen quite regularly, you've probably got a blackbird, maybe a chaffinch, a magpie, and a yellow hammer, probably the ones you see more regularly. Okay. Let's have a look then. How will we classify them? So I've taken 3 of them. I've taken the chaffinch, the grey heron, and a magpie. So what's my first question going to be? So look at the 3 pictures. What stands out? So what I'm going to choose, I'm going to say, does my bird have a red chest? Okay. And then I'm going to choose my answer is either going to be yes or no. So if my bird has a red chest, yes, it's going to be well done, it's a chaffinch. Now I've got to sort out my grey heron and my magpie. I don't always have to use color. I can use something else. Now, if I look at the differences between the 2 birds, I could say, right, does it have a long neck? I could have said, does it have a long tail? I could have said, does it have a long beak or a short beak? But I've decided this time, does it have a long neck? And it's going to be, again, yes or no. So does this bird have a long neck? Yes, would be then the grey heron, which would mean that the one that says no is a magpie. So that is how I would create my tree diagram. So now here's your task. You've got to create your own tree diagram for these birds. Remember, look closely at the colors, the beak, the tail length, and the neck length. You can use it on your whiteboards or you can do it in your books. It's fine either way. And make sure it's a yes and no answer. It's closed questions, which will help you sort your answers and your categories very clearly. Pause the video now, please, and have a go. And when you finish, come back to the lesson. Pause now. Well done. Thank you for coming back. Hope you've completed the activity so far. Let's continue with the rest of the lesson. Okay, so we've now done. So now let's have a look back at what we've done. So far we've identified similarities and differences between organisms. We've been able to group organisms into Venn diagrams and carroll diagrams, and we've created a classification tree using the tree classification. Okay, so let's review our knowledge. Name these 3 diagrams used for sorting. The next question is, what is classification? And the third question is, what do we mean by features? Pause the video now, answer the 3 questions, and then come back to find the answers. Okay, pause the video now, please. Fantastic. Welcome back. Let's see if we can go through the answers. So name the 3 diagrams used for sorting. We've got a carroll diagram. This is the first one. The Venn diagram is the middle one, and the tree diagram is the right diagram. Question 2. What is classification? Classification is to arrange a group of things into categories or groups according to shared characteristics. And what do we mean by features? A feature is a distinctive attribute or aspect to something. Well done for all your answers. If you've got them correct, fantastic. Give yourself a pat on the back. And that, year 6, is the end of the lesson. Make sure that you go to Purple Mash to complete your quiz, and I will see you in your next science lesson. Have a good day. Bye-bye for now.